Welcome to our in-depth video on navigating provisional immigration status when traveling between the U.S. Virgin Islands and the mainland United States. To begin, we will set the stage by explaining why flights that seem domestic can function like an international inspection from an immigration perspective. Next, we will address key risks, documents, safer planning steps, and when to consult legal counsel. Finally, we will wrap up with practical takeaways and a short quiz to test your understanding. First, we will cover the overall context and why travel between the USVI and the mainland is not treated like a standard domestic flight for immigration purposes. Next, we will explain how CBP inspections work on these routes. Then, we will examine why an EAD and a foreign passport are not travel documents, and we will outline the associated risks including questioning, detention, and potential impacts on asylum status. After that, we will provide safer planning steps and emphasize the importance of consulting an immigration attorney. Then, 2 short quizzes will help you check your understanding. Finally, we will summarize the key points and provide next steps. To set the context, although the U.S. Virgin Islands are American territory, flying from the USVI to the mainland involves inspection by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. In practical terms, this can resemble an international entry process, even though the flight may be marketed as domestic. Therefore, travelers with provisional status, such as asylum applicants with EADs, face legal complexities not present on typical domestic flights. Now, turning to the illusion of domestic travel. While these flights appear domestic, they involve CBP inspections that function more like an international entry. This means that upon departure from the USVI, passengers must clear inspection, present documents, and potentially face additional questions. For individuals with provisional status, like those with a pending asylum claim, this context introduces heightened scrutiny and greater risk than on typical domestic flights. This sequence diagram illustrates the order of interactions. First, the traveler presents identification for the usual TSA security process. Next, after clearing security, the traveler proceeds to CBP inspection. At this point, CBP may request documentation, such as an Employment Authorization Document and a foreign passport. If something raises concerns, the traveler can be referred to secondary inspection for additional questioning and document review. Otherwise, if everything checks out, CBP clears the traveler to board. Next, let us examine the core risks. First, questioning of intent can occur because asylum claims rely on a fear of persecution. Officers may probe whether travel or document use suggests misuse or inconsistencies. Second, status fragility is a concern because passing through inspection while an asylum case is pending can be misinterpreted as abandonment or result in adverse actions if not handled properly. Third, distinguishing proof of identity from proof of admission is essential. A foreign passport confirms identity, and an EAD confirms work authorization, but neither is a travel or admission document. Together, they do not guarantee a smooth experience at a CBP checkpoint. Here, we compare identity and work authorization against admission. A foreign passport supports identity, and an employment authorization document confirms the right to work. However, neither document constitutes authorization for admission through a CBP checkpoint. On the other side, lawful admission requires appropriate entry or travel documents, and even then CBP can ask questions or refer travelers to secondary inspection. The specific context, such as a pending asylum claim, can influence how documents are interpreted and the risks involved. Moving forward, effective planning begins with consulting a qualified immigration attorney before making any travel arrangements. Then, review the status and details of your asylum case, including where it was filed, and any residence or reporting requirements. Confirm precisely which documents you hold, such as your EAD category, your passport validity, and any pending receipts or notices. Ask your attorney whether any travel is advisable. If the attorney believes some travel may be possible, plan safer timing, routing, and what to present. Finally, prepare for inspection by practicing concise, consistent answers, and by carrying originals or copies as your attorney advises. Question 1. Is a flight from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands to New York considered a domestic flight for immigration purposes? Option A. Yes, it is fully domestic with no CBP inspection. Option B. No. CBP inspection applies, and it functions more like an international entry. Option C. Option C. It depends on the airline. Some skip CBP. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is no. CBP inspection applies, and it functions more like an international entry. Although the U.S. Virgin Islands are U.S. territory, these routes require CBP inspection, which increases risk for travelers with provisional status. Next, regarding travel documents. An EAD plus a foreign passport provides work authorization and identity, but does not function as a travel document for re-entry. A refugee travel document, requested on Form I-131, is generally available after asylum or refugee status is granted, or in certain cases with specific permission, and is considered a safer standard for travel that involves inspection. Advance parole, also requested via Form I-131, may be available in some circumstances, but it still carries risk and requires individualized legal advice. Therefore, when uncertain, the safest course of action is to avoid travel until your attorney confirms it is advisable. This mind map centers on travel while asylum is pending. The Documents branch distinguishes EAD plus passport, which are not travel documents, from advance parole, which can be case-specific and risky, and the refugee travel document, which is generally the safer standard for re-entry when eligible. The Inspection branch highlights potential CBP questions, referral to secondary inspection, and the possibility of detention. The Counsel branch emphasizes a pre-travel consultation, case review, and a document strategy. Finally, outcomes range from being cleared to delays or potential adverse impacts on the case. This table compares common documents. A foreign passport proves identity but does not authorize admission. An Employment Authorization Document allows work but is not a travel document. Advance parole can sometimes permit re-entry, but it is conditional and can be risky, requiring individualized legal advice. A refugee travel document is generally the safer standard for re-entry for those granted asylee or refugee status, or when specific permission applies. Each option carries different risk levels and must be evaluated with counsel. Before proceeding, please note this legal disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Laws and policies can change, and your unique facts will determine the safest path. You should consult a qualified immigration attorney before making any travel decisions. Question 2. Do an EAD and a foreign passport together guarantee smooth admission through a CBP checkpoint? Option A. Yes, because they prove identity and work authorization. Option B. No, they do not guarantee admission or re-entry. Option C. Only if your EAD category is asylum-based. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is no. They do not guarantee admission or re-entry. An EAD confirms work authorization, and a passport proves identity, but neither serves as a travel document that ensures admission through CBP inspection. These are the key takeaways. First, flights from the USVI to the mainland include CBP inspection and related scrutiny. Second, an EAD and a foreign passport do not constitute a travel document for admission. Third, the risks include questioning, secondary inspection, and possible detention. Fourth, you should consult an immigration attorney before traveling. Finally, when eligible, a refugee travel document is the safer standard, while advance parole is case-specific and can be risky. In summary, flights from the U.S. Virgin Islands to the mainland U.S. can function like international entries in terms of immigration processes. For individuals with provisional status, this means higher risk compared to ordinary domestic routes. The safest approach is to plan alongside an immigration attorney, verify your documents, and understand the implications for your specific case. If there is uncertainty, postponing travel can protect your immigration position. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe. Let us know your questions and experiences in the comments so we can address them in future videos. Your feedback helps others navigate these complex travel scenarios.